This is the story of how I nearly lost my life as a child while being home alone. And it was possibly the most intense night I've ever experienced, with far too much happening all at once. We are a family of 5. I was 10 years old at the time. My older brother was 15, and my little sister was 4. One Thursday night, my brother was out with friends, likely causing trouble, because my parents received a dreaded phone call. I was in my room playing a Star Wars video game when I heard my mom start crying. Panicked, I rushed out to see what was wrong. My mom was on the phone with the hospital informing my parents that my brother had been hit by a car. We were all terrified. My brother's leg was broken, but I don't remember the rest of the details from the call. My parents quickly got their coats, fetched my little sister from her room, and asked if I could stay home alone. I said yes, and they hurried to the car and left. Though I was worried about my brother, I didn't want to go to the hospital and see him in bad condition. My parents probably didn't want my sister or me there either, but they couldn't leave my 4-year-old sister home alone. It's important to mention that my brother recovered fine, and his injury is only relevant because it was the reason I was left home alone that night. Before leaving, my dad tried to calm my mom, reassuring her that my brother would be okay. Seeing my dad like that made me feel better, and I thought my mom might be overreacting as moms do. I continued playing my game for a couple more hours when I heard the front door open. It was easily past midnight and my bedtime, so I turned off the TV and PlayStation and crawled into bed with my Game Boy. I tried to hear my parents' voices or my brother's, but I heard nothing. After a few minutes, with no sounds of anyone coming upstairs, I felt something was wrong. I quietly opened my door, walked to the ledge overlooking the living room, and saw 3 tall people standing there. They were not my family. I was so petrified that I was frozen for a second before I could quietly walk back into my room and shut the door as quietly as I could in my trepidation. But it wasn't quiet enough, and I knew it. They had to have heard the door click shut, even if just slightly. I hurried to my closet, opened the door, stepped inside quietly, and shut the door. I positioned myself behind a bunch of boxes and bags of clothes that were stuffed in my closet. I was actually pretty well covered from view. There was a short period that felt like forever as I anticipated my bedroom door opening. And it did. At that moment, I knew I was going to die. I heard footsteps walking into the room. I couldn't tell how many people there were. It may have been 1, it may have been 2. I heard the footsteps move to my bed, and I heard my covers being moved. Then there was silence, followed by more footsteps toward the closet door. Then silence for a few seconds, and then the closet door opened. My heart was in my throat by this point. All I did was sit quietly and hold my breath. The door remained open for what felt like a really long time. But I didn't look up. I didn't move. There had to be a good 20 seconds of silence before the door closed again. Footsteps walked away from the closet door and then out of the room. I finally looked up and realized that from where I was crouched down behind the bags and boxes, I might have been visible to that person. It wasn't until probably an hour later that I heard my parents return. I ran downstairs to them. The front door was left ajar by the people who broke in, and they had stolen several valuables from our house. It was a night that just went from bad to worse for our family. My parents were in such a rush when they left for the hospital that they apparently didn't even lock the door. I was lucky not to have been killed or kidnapped. I look back now and really wonder if the person who opened the closet and stood there for 20 seconds saw me hiding in there. Maybe he was just there to rob the house, not to kidnap or hurt a child. Or maybe he just didn't see me, and I narrowly escaped death or injury.